Hi, I'm Jessica.
And I'm Kira.
And we are
the Keepers of the Books,
your online librarians. And we're here with a spooky Halloween Reads episode.
Ooh. We're going to start with picture books.
And we'll work our way through adult.
And a few of them we have here. A few of them we're just going to mention. How to Catch a Monster by Adam Wallace and Andy Elkerton. This is a book about a ninja who wants to finally catch the monster underneath his bed. The pictures are adorable. They're bright, they're colorful, they're simplistic so they catch your eye. Perfect for toddlers or preschoolers. This is a must-have for Halloween.
Duck and Goose, Honk Quack Boo by Tad Hills. This one is about Duck and Goose who get scared by a creepy sounding monster in the swamp.
A Too Scary Story by Bethany Deany Murguia. This is about two siblings who want a scary bedtime story, but neither one can agree on how scary it should be.
The Creepy Pair of Underwear by Erin Reynolds. This one is about a bunny who gets some big bunny underwear, but when the lights go out, they glow in the dark.
Creepy.
It's a really cute story, and a lot of kids will really love it.
The Scariest Book Ever by Bob Shea. This book has a narrator who's a scaredy cat. He thinks the ghosts, the goblins, the witches, and other creatures in the book make it the scariest book ever.
Bob Shea's a great author. He also wrote The Happiest Book Ever, but that's not Halloween.
I love his books because they're so funny.
Now on to early readers. Discover Halloween by Julia O'Neill. This is a level 1 reader, and basically it just talks about what Halloween is and is an introduction to Halloween for young ones.
You Gotta Rock, Charlie Brown by Maggie Testa. The Peanuts gang go trick-or-treating, but poor Charlie Brown gets a rock instead of a candy. It's very classic Peanuts in an easy reader format.
What are puppy dogs to do when their big Halloween bash gets interrupted by a group of ghouls and goblins?
The Spooky Cabin by Jason Fruchter. So this is our favorite Paw Patrol puppies, and they go to a cabin to try and stop it from spooking the rest of the people in the town. Will they succeed?
Now on to middle grade readers. My first one is actually a series. These are 3 books from Marvel, and they're really fun because they feature different Avengers. Like this one has Iron Man, this one has the Hulk, and this one has Thor. But the kids are the ones doing the rescuing. Everyday kids using their resources, their brains to fight the monsters. But there is one kid who is featured in all of these. So our main heroes in each one are different. But then there's Kid Kaiju, who runs an online blog. Kid Kaiju has this great superpower where what he draws comes to life, and so he can make good monsters to help them fight the bad monsters. Now this one is about the Gorgilla. This one is a monster that is around in the forest of the town. He's scaring the other creatures, so they have to help figure out what to do about him and get rid of him, or at least save the day. This one's really fun, and what I also like about these books is a lot of them have 2 main characters, or some of them have girl main characters, some of them have boy main characters. So it really just takes away some of those gender stereotypes and takes them out of the equation because kids are going to want to read the entire series. This one, Beware the Glop. The Glop is this orange goo and is slowly taking over the town. This orange glop takes over. It has some mystical monster powers, and this one was really fun. The other thing about these is they don't all take place in exactly the same town. This one takes place in Kid Kaiju's hometown. When Troll Attacks is about the new girl in town. Her name's Louisa. She's just moved in. She knows nobody. She has no friends. She loves her books, and she likes to hang out at the library. Now, this librarian is an awesome librarian, but you're going to have to read the book to find out why. Kid Kaiju just happens to get along with her too. If you want a book that features a library, monsters made out of electricity, and just a fun book about kids saving the day, this is the one for you.
Tales from the Haunted Mansion, Midnight at Madame Leota's, a Disney Book Group book. This was featured in a different episode as a full review, so to check it out, check out that video. But this is a great short story Halloween book for those who are looking for something, in addition to always having already read all the Scary Stories Treasury by Alvin Schwartz.
The Supernormal Sleuthing Service by Christopher Rowe and Gwenda Bond.
Tongue twister.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a tongue twister. This one is about Steven, and when his dad moves him to a hotel filled with monsters, his dad's master cookbook gets stolen, and it's up to Steven to save the day.
A Babysitter's Guide to Monster Hunting by Joe Ballarini. So Kelly Ferguson is thinking she's in for a perfectly normal Halloween night until baby Jacob gets taken by goblins. And she has to save him.
Power of voodoo.
You do.
Sorry. Anybody seen Labyrinth lately?
Very great Halloween movie if you haven't seen it.
Might as well throw some movies in too. We're media specialists, not just book specialists. The Not So Itty Bitty Spiders by Anne-Marie Stadelman. So this is part of the Olive and Beatrix series, which is a really cute series that a lot of kids love. And when Olive and Eddie decide to play a prank on Beatrix, a bucket of spiders crawl into Bee's magic potions. And now there are giant spiders on the loose.
I don't think I want to see that.
No, they're bad enough when they're small. They're not all Aragog.
Banicula by James Howe. This house has a vampire bunny who sucks the juice out of all his vegetables, and the other animals in the house are determined to stop him in his tracks. This is a popular favorite from my childhood, and I just absolutely love Banicula. Frankly, I kind of like the bunny, but the dogs are cute too.
But he's a vampire bunny.
I know.
The Afterlife Academy by Frank Cole. This one is about a demon's grimoire falling into the hands of a regular kid. And then there's the recently deceased Charlie, who's a kid who has to keep the grimoire and the regular kid safe.
The Freddy Files by Scott Cawthorn. So for those of you who like the Five Nights at Freddy's, this is a must-read for you. It's all the scary you could want from the world of Five Nights at Freddy's.
Mistress of All Evil by Serena Valentino. This is a popular series that features the evil villains from the Disney realm. It gives you their backstories, and we'll have a full review on that one soon.
Castle Hignell by Ursula Vernon. This is a super cute book about a little witch who's not quite used to her powers yet, but she wants to be the Castle Hignell little witch. And so she goes to the castle and bites off a lot more than she can chew. But she's got a lot of spunk and is quite feisty, so I think you'll find she's quite entertaining. So Ghost Sitter by Shelley Brown is about this girl, Tiffany, who she almost dies in an abandoned slaughterhouse, and now she can see ghosts. So she has to team up with this self-proclaimed weird geeky kid named Justin. Justin has been able to see ghosts since he was 9. And these little children ghosts that she can see are stuck on the earthly plane. And there's a more evil ghost who is trying to keep them there. Believe it or not, this is actually a super funny book and has a lot of Goosebumps similarities for those who like Goosebumps.
The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding by Alexandra Bracken. This is an author who generally writes for a little older group, but this one is definitely middle reader. But I think a lot of teens are going to like it as well because it's such a well done book. Prosper and his twin sister are turning 13. Now, one of them, like Prosper, has a demon inside of him waiting to get out and destroy the family. Yeah. And in turn, the family wants to destroy him because the demon's trying to destroy them. And it has to do with his like great-great-grandpa a long time ago who made a deal with the demon and backed out. This demon's name is Alistair. There is definitely some comedic effect to this book. Imagine what happens when this demon is not quite used to the 21st century.
Or Halloween.
It's fun, it's a little creepy, and it has some great secondary characters that really bring some plot twists and adventure to the story. For me, this reminded me the overall tone kind of Hocus Pocus. Disney, just make it a movie, play it on ABC Family along with Hocus Pocus. So this one is my must read for everyone for Halloween.
Max Helsing and the 13th Curse by Curtis Jobling. In this book, Max Helsing is the 13th descendant of Max Helsing, and so it plays a lot into the novel because most of the time he gets along pretty good with the supernatural creatures, even though he has to kind of keep them from causing too much havoc on the world. But suddenly they're all becoming overcome with the desire to kill him. And looking into it with one of the other supernatural creatures that doesn't quite want to kill him yet, they discover that there is an ancient curse on Helsings, the 13th descendant of the Helsings to be exact. Can they break the curse? I love this book's illustrations. They are just so cool. They're very detailed, and the best part is that Curtis Jobling drew them himself. And the detail on these little information sheets of the monsters is just extremely entertaining because it's from his, whatever the equivalent in the series is of the grimoire with all the supernatural creatures, and he's supposed to keep up on them, and he puts his own little notes at the bottom of what he really thinks of the monsters, unlike the rest of his family. The story itself is very funny, fast-paced, and I just love the mix of how the author does the internal and external dialogue. It's very well done, and so I highly recommend this. This would be a great read for grades 5 and up or ages 10 and up. Wait Till Helen Comes by Mary Downing Hahn, or pretty much anything by Mary Downing Hahn, because all
she writes is creepy, scary books. This book is a middle grade reader, and it's about this ghost who drowned, and she decides that she doesn't want to be alone. So she's luring kids into this lake or pond and drowning them.
And not just because she wants
she's Helen.
kids. She's also a little bit on the vengeful side.
Yeah, this book scared me a lot.
Isn't this when you said you had to read Anne Rice to be able to go to sleep on?
Yeah. I don't know, Anne Rice is different because and those aren't kid books, but it's more like you're in the monster's head in a lot of them, and so it just doesn't seem the same. You're not being attacked by the monsters, you are the monster.
Hers are also good for Halloween, but they're definitely adult. The Merc by Robert Lettrick. Piper, her little brother Creeper, and Tad, her friend, set out into the Merc to basically fulfill a promise made long ago by Piper to her little sister that she would protect her. Now her little sister is sick, and there's something in the Merc area that will heal her. But the problem is it also has scary monsters, particularly one little swamp monster that's not so little, that's extremely creepy. So if you want kind of a fun Halloween thriller, pick this one up. It's great for grades 5 and up or ages 10 and up.
Young adult fiction. Far, Far Away by Tom McNeill. This is a very creepy book, and the audio is great too. So this one's about a town where teens start disappearing, and there's this bakery, and well, you should see what comes out of this bakery at night. All
Weird
of that.
colored smoke.
Yeah, but they've got these great magically delicious foods. Well, cakes. Jeremy starts to suspect something is up with this.
Something Hansel and Gretel-ish.
Yeah, this book did kind of remind me of a magical modern twist on Hansel and Gretel, but a much creepier version of Hansel and Gretel.
You know, even though I love the audio, it was almost too creepy for me. I had to put it down and finish the book by reading it.
It's definitely a book that takes more on the Grimm brothers version of Hansel and Gretel and not the version that most children are familiar with.
The narrator is Jakob Grimm.
That's true.
Caraval by Stephanie Garber. So two sisters. So the oldest sister is set to be married to some real creepo. And her younger sister basically arranges for them to go be part of this competition called the Caraval on this remote island. It all seems pretty normal. You finish the quest, you get a cool prize, which is your one wish, whatever you want it to be. But it turns out the guy who runs this Caraval has a dark past. And it has to do with something from their family's past. Will they ever get off of Caraval?
A Taste for Monsters by Matthew Kirby. This one is about London, 1886. Jack the Ripper is starting to stalk people and kill them. Evelyn and the Elephant Man are being kind of haunted by the ghosts of Jack the Ripper's victims. And the Elephant Man's name is Joseph.
Definitely perfect for a creepy Halloween read. Anything with Jack the Ripper in it.
So that one reminds me of Ripper, and Ripper is by Stephen Petruka. So this one's been out for 4 or 5 years now, and it is about 1895, New York, and there's a 14-year-old Carver Young, and he hopes to find his birth father, and he's adopted by the Pinkerton Agency. He becomes involved in stalking Jack the Ripper and hunting him down.
Another great one would be Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. So Audrey's a very high society lady who is tired of her father being so oppressive. So she decides to go stalk Jack the Ripper, which to me is not a good thing to do. But hey, who makes a good book?
I bet we could do an entire episode just on fiction and nonfiction.
About Jack the Ripper?
Yeah. The Beast is an Animal by Patricia Van Arsdale. This was a creepy book, and we have done a full review for it. This one is about these two ghost sister twins who come and they decide they're going to kill everybody who is older than them. It is told from their perspective on some of it. It's told from this girl's perspective, the one that they meet at the beginning of the book. So basically they feel like the two ghost sisters or demon sisters, whatever they are, decide they're going to destroy everybody who is older than them in their sleep. Our main character is this girl who has insomnia. She's in the fields wandering at night, and she runs into the sisters, and she's not scared of them. And the sister's like, why aren't you scared of us? So the girl makes them very curious, passes them over, goes and kills all of the town that's older than them. And this little girl goes back in the morning, and she's like, well, my parents are dead. Everybody's dead except for those who are younger. And what are we going to do? And this guy comes through the town and is like, I'll take you. We'll find you guys new homes. We'll take care of you. And then these ghosts, demon sisters
follow them?
Yeah, basically kind of follow them or track them down because they're curious in this girl. Anyways, this one is creepy. I've never read anything like it, but it is based on some old folklore. Good book. check out the full review. Lore by Aaron Mahnke. This one is the guy who does the Lower podcast series. So now you've got a podcast too. This book is cool. I listened to the audiobook, which is narrated by him as well. And it did take me a little bit to get used back into listening to his voice because I'm used to fiction, but I really like it and it fits it so perfectly because it's not dramatic and emotional. It's just, here are the facts. Here's the history of monsters and why we have this folklore. It starts out with your usual vampires and why people, before they had scientific information and disease information, decided vampires were around and what they did about them, and the history of Van Helsing gets twisted into that too. And then you've got werewolves. I really was creeped out by the one about possessed dolls.
Oh, that is creepy.
It was a little too Chucky for me. Definitely creepy. And then there was a history of like the Philadelphia Devil. Maybe that plays into a sports team. But the history of that one, it actually involved Napoleon Bonaparte's brother. He gave up his throne as King of Spain and apparently moved to Philadelphia
to be with a girl. The King of Spain wanted to marry a commoner that was from Philadelphia, and so that's why he moved to Philadelphia and rescinded the throne.
But he was Napoleon Bonaparte's brother, and he had an encounter with the Philadelphia Devil.
Ooh.
Anyways, it's really interesting, and it's got some creepy history, but it's all research based. It's reading from primary sources and all of that. I really liked it. It's good for adults, and I really like the no nonsense, here's the facts NPR style type narration. And I actually had listened to the podcast in the past, and I liked the podcast too. But don't listen to it at night in the dark. He scares you. Last year we recommended The Diviners, which is a creepy book. It's been out for a while, and book 3, Before the Devil Breaks You by Libba Bray, just came out. The audiobook on these, by the way, is even creepier than the book. I honestly will not be listening to Before the Devil Breaks You. I scare really easy. And Kira made it worse by following me around and singing the song that the serial killer sings, and we told you about that last year. But I do know people who are listening to the audio on this one, and they're scared. So if you need a really scary book, the Diviner series is perfect. Genuine Fraud by E. Lockhart. This one is narrated by Rebecca Soler. I listened to the audio and it was fantastic. I love her narrations and I loved it on Cinder, so I'm not surprised that I loved her narration on this one. She has good voices for both the guys and the girls, and her voice just really draws you into the story. It's almost entrancing, so that was really good. This one, it follows Imogene and Jewel. Imogene is an heiress, and kind of a runaway heiress at that. And Jewel has lost her scholarship, lost everything. She's an athlete, but these two know each other from school. And in the future, they run into each other and their friendship develops. It starts with the murder and it goes backwards. So sometimes it's like, what's going on? But you get it, and there's some little clues in there, and you kind of go, wait, The twist at the end and what really happened is not what I expected. So it starts with the murder, and then you go like the next scene, well, in the past, and the next one, and the next one, back to the very beginning and how this all culminated and happened together. Wow. Psychological thriller murder mystery, all in one. Great book. Never read anything quite like it before. It's on the bestsellers list for a reason. Fantastic. This is from Delacorte Press, and I'm going to say grades 9 or 10 and up because it does have some mature content in it.
Another great one would be Midwinter Blood, but it's by Marcus Sedgwick. That would be in the same age range. It starts at the beginning with somebody being sacrificed. And the next scene back tells the story of two lovebirds who just seem to not be able to get together in every lifetime. And so it's told backwards, and you're wondering what really started it all. Very creepy, very supernatural thriller with a lot of psychological elements that really throw you for a loop.
Okay, Scythe by Neil Shusterman. This one is a world where you have reapers, and they're the only ones who can cause and determine when to die and how. There are these apprentice reapers, and only one of them is allowed to live. They're both in training, and in the end, one of them will have to kill the other one. It's a good book, and a lot of the kids really have liked this one a lot.
There's also like a line of corrupt reapers that are going through and mass killing people, and that kind of plays into the story too. There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. So Makani has escaped from Hawaii to live in landlocked Nebraska with her grandmother, but her past comes back to haunt her.
The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. This one is a Newbery Award winner that is just one of our favorites over the years. Because how many books start with a baby escaping when his entire family is murdered with a knife? to the graveyard where he lives and survives, and others help take care of him.
Ghosts, specifically.
The X-Files. This one is Jonathan Maybury. He wrote Rotten Ruin, so you know just because of that there's probably going to be at least a mention of zombies in this book. Well, there's one mention. And there's a little bit of language. This one is the backstory for Dana Scully from the X-Files. How she became Dana Scully, how she became a believer, by Cami Garcia, and this one is Mulder. So in this one, there are kids being killed and left with like these little bone creation things on them. Now, in both of these books, there are agents following them that they don't really know are there and seeing how they deal with this and what's going on, and are they keeping them safe or are they not keeping them safe and making their history worse? Basically, another little girl goes missing. Mulder doesn't think they're doing enough. Something else is going on, so he decides to investigate. So this one is Agent of Chaos. So these both take place the end of March, beginning of April 1979. This one, the teenagers in Dana's school are being found dead. And just, they think it's suicide. The cops really aren't really looking into this much. They think maybe it's drugs or suicide. And these are really weird and really piled on top of each other. And it's just one after another. And she's like, something else is going on here. So we're gonna investigate and see what's going on. And what I do like about these is you can kind of tell that they take place about the same location, if not the same location, because some of those tertiary characters that are kind of in the background, they're actually the same. And so you see overlap between these two books. And if you read them closely, you'll see that. It was pretty cool how they did that. Again, both of them have agents keeping an eye on them, tracking them, seeing what's going on. But you don't know if those agents are good or bad. But you're pretty sure they have to do with the X-Files. These are just really interesting, and especially for fans of X-Files, adult or young adult, these are great.
Okay, on to adult. Relic by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child. I love these books. They're very great on audio. They capture you in about 4 pages or less in time than you would think in the audiobook.
These are the Pendergast files.
Pendergast.
I actually started with Brimstone.
I actually started with Dance of the Dead.
Oh yeah, I did Dance of the Dead, and then I went back to Brimstone, but that's still not the first book in the series. So
you definitely don't have to read them in order.
Kind of maybe try to start towards the beginning. Anyways, great series. So go ahead and tell them what Relic's about.
So it's right before the grand opening of the New York Museum of Natural History.
An exhibit
at there, and everybody around them is dying. They're getting killed. And it's definitely got a supernatural reason, because they all do.
Or do they?
It definitely appears supernatural.
So basically anything by Stephen King. The most popular this time of year in the library is definitely Pet Sematary,
S-E-M-A-T-A-R-Y.
Yeah, and then It is very popular this year. It's like this fat, 1,200 pages about. And it's been very popular just because of the movie. Pennywise, the clown, that's his story.
So if you do decide you want to read It or Pet Sematary, you might want to try getting it just on like an ebook format, because we're not going to find them in the store.
Or at the library. Well, we might find them in the store. They ordered extra copies, but
they have a lot of extra copies you might.
There's a holds list.
But definitely not at the library. You don't want to know how many holds we have on that book.
Sleeping Beauties is by Stephen King and his son, I believe. And this one is the newer one by him. So check out Sleeping Beauties as well.
I Am Not a Serial Killer by Dan Wells. This follows the story of John Wayne Cleaver. Poor guy has 2 names that completely contradict themselves. One, he's named after a cowboy, and the other one, his last name sounds like he's a serial killer. So he sounds like a cowboy serial killer. And because of his name, he decides to be more like a cowboy than a serial killer. But some things happen in the small town, and they point to a possible real serial killer. Will he be able to figure out who it is without turning into something he doesn't want to become? Insidious by Katherine Coulter. She has a whole series of these. Well, they're about different FBI agents, but this particular one's about Cam Whittier. And he's going from Washington to Los Angeles for work. And trouble just follows this poor guy wherever he goes. He gets there, and Daniel Montoya needs his help solving the Scarlet Slasher murders. So it's action-packed, has what appears to be a psychological thriller, or is it?
Okay, A Discovery of Witches. This is not the only book in the series, but this is definitely a popular one, especially this time of year. It's by Deborah Harkness, and this one is about Diana Bishop, who's a young scholar investigating the history of witches. She's also a descendant of witches.
So she discovers this ancient manuscript, the Ashmole 782. And the reappearance of this Ashmole 782 causes all sorts of problems, and she has to team up with a vampire geneticist who just happens to be really, really hot. So as you can guess, it has some romance too.
All right, just a couple cookbooks to round things off. Betty Crocker Halloween Cookbook. Very cute, some great recipes. Betty Crocker's always a favorite. Taste of Home Halloween. Again, tried, proven recipes. These are sure to make your party adorable or just dinner with your family.
And they're always tasty.
And then one more, and the website's a little out of date, but there is a cookbook to go along with it, and it's the HalloweenCookbook.com. There are free pumpkin stencils on the website and some free recipes as well, which are just going to make you want the cookbook because they are so intensely adorable and spooky. All right, so that is it, our Halloween episode for this year. Be sure to check out last year's episode as well because we have more classics as well as some other ones, and it's just kind of fun. I like doing the Halloween episodes because you get to focus on a genre that's popular but yet ultra popular one time a year.
And I love how you can fit so many different kinds of books into a Halloween episode.
Psychological thrillers, murder mysteries, cookbooks,
suspense thrillers, cookbooks,
monster stories, ghosts, zombies, goblins. Anyways,
werewolves. We could go on.
All right, so be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions for the librarians, you can put those in the comments and we'll be sure to address them as well.
What book are you reading for Halloween? Or do you need a suggestion?
We like giving suggestions, don't we?
Yes.
All right, and until next time, happy spooky reading. Bye.
Bye.